China Current is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started.
Welcome to China Currents. I'm Thomas. A lot of things happened lately. We have two Chinese snooker players giving lifetime ban for match fixing. A college girl apologized after accusing a male migrant worker of taking secret pictures of her despite knowing his innocence from the beginning. And finally, a series of international news of Sino-American relations and diplomacy. First, the snooker players. On June 7th, the World Professional Billiards and Snooker Association closed the investigation on what might be the worst match-fixing scandal in the sport's history. 10 Chinese players were found guilty. The heaviest punishment were handed out to Liang Wenbo and Li Hang, who have been banned for life for fixing matches as well as soliciting, inducing, and persuading others to do so. The pair, aged 36 and 32, were described by the Snooker Association as ringleaders who put pressure on younger players to break the rules. They were also found guilty of orchestrating an attempted cover-up. Another 8 Chinese players were also banned from between 20 months and 5 years. Among them were also some snooker's promising young players. The scandal happened right during China's crackdown on corruption in sports. Earlier this year, 2 coaches in the Chinese Basketball League were suspended for match fixing. Later, the head coach of national football team was also put into custody for alleged corruption. 9 of the top-ranked officials in the Football Association were also arrested for bribery and corruption. That was basically the entire board of directors. There were reports of foreign national teams calling their Chinese counterpart for a friendly proposal, but their calls were never picked up because everyone in charge was in custody. Football and basketball are among the most lucrative sports in China, each generating an annual revenue of over $100 million. When you have such a large market, there's gotta be someone who's willing to get a share of regardless of the means. As a wise man from Germany once quoted, "When capital can get 100% profit, it will trample on all human laws." Corruption in football and basketball are good examples. However, things are different when it comes to snooker. As a so-called elite sport, snooker occupies a fairly small share in China's sports market. According to one report, among all the Chinese professionals playing in England, there are only 2 who actually made any money. One being Ding Junhui, one of the best players in the past 15 years. The other being Liang Wenbo, the crooked player that was banned this time. The rest were basically living off loans and family savings. Dignity is easily abandoned when one has to choose between it and bankruptcy. Therefore, Chinese netizens on the one hand slammed the match-fixing players for their dishonesty and lack of sportsmanship. On the other hand, they focused on the snooker players' low income, which is partly responsible for the encouraging and forcing the players to match fixing. The scandal thus reflects the dilemma of professional snooker. Since the early 2000s, the sport experienced a dramatic expansion, especially in China. However, it failed to create a market that is big enough to feed everybody, especially the new Chinese players who were attracted to the sports over the past decade. And the result is the unprecedented match-fixing scandal we have just witnessed. It is safe to say, if the Snooker Association continues to fail in commercialization, similar cases will soon happen again. Next up, we have a hot trending topic from Chinese social media. A college girl in South China's Guangzhou apologized for accusing a male migrant worker for taking secret photos of her on the subway and exposing the man's face on social media platform, despite the man has already proven his innocence by showing the girl the empty photo album of his smartphone. Initially, the girl posted on Weibo, the Chinese counterpart to Twitter, that a male, who she described as a wretched and sordid geezer with skillful secret photography technique, took her picture secretly. According to her original post, she should have confirmed the man's action and confronted him. However, later it was discovered that the man had already proven his innocence by showing the girl his empty album. Despite being a misunderstanding, the girl did not apologize and chose to expose the man regardless of the fact. The girl received widespread criticism online for imposing cyber violence to the poor innocent man. The news topped the trending topics on Weibo on Sunday evening with more than 560 million views and comments. The 56-year-old man, with accompanied with his son, has reported the incident to local police on Sunday, requesting an apology. According to the man's son, the man does not go online often or even know how to use complicated smartphones, and he knew the incident on Saturday evening after a friend sent him the video. The innocent man decided to forgive the girl. We're migrant workers. She has much higher education level than we do. We don't want the school to suspend her or ask for compensation. As long as she apologizes, we'll give her the chance, said the man's son. The story is still in debate on the internet as of this moment. Topping the trending topics as news was no easy task. It has to touch upon some of the Chinese most sensitive issues. We have two protagonists coming from different social classes and two different narratives fueling the conflict. The discrimination against migrant workers and the newly formed narrative of male-female dichotomy. Discrimination against migrant workers is not new. Its pernicious legacy can be dated back to the mid-1980s. Migrant workers, mostly from the rural areas, were hired for the most laborious jobs but paid little. Oftentimes, migrant workers were labeled as dirty, illiterate, and poor. They were the makers of Chinese modern skylines, yet they were ignored in the very cities they helped to build. This discrimination was once prominent, but has generally declined in recent decades. The dichotomy of genders, however, is a fairly new thing, roughly began in the last decade. It's the product of a radical narrative. Long story short, if a sexual assault case was exposed online, it's not only the offender, but that all men are scumbags. One may imagine men are not so satisfied about being put on internet tribunal alongside the sex offenders just because of their gender. As a result, fights broke out and conflicts are formed, hence the male-female dichotomy. What happened in the top trending news is a blend of the old discrimination and the new narrative of gender dichotomy. If, just as the dichotomy will tell us, women are surrounded by sordid male at all times, then caution is needed. However, though the dichotomy will tell us men are all filthy animals, in practice there is, after all, a comparison among animals. Borrowing from George Orwell, men are all sordid, but some men are more sordid than the others. The migrant workers who have always been the victim of discrimination are sadly the latter. After that, the narrative created a new identity for the poor old man squatting on the floor. Instead of a dirty, poor, illiterate man that the old discrimination labels him, he is now a wretched and sordid geezer. And for the girl, it is also completely fine not to apologize and continue to expose the man even after he has proven his innocence. After all, if men are born filthy, it is simply a matter of time for them to do such act. Here comes the tricky part. When people start to criticize the girl's action and the narrative that caused her wrongdoing, it is quite easy to get emotional and let the discussion into an endless fight. However, the more they quarrel, the more sentimental one gets, the stronger the dichotomy narrative becomes, as the intense argument itself becomes an evidence to the so-called innate gender conflict. Yes, they're actually talking about a specific case which has a clear right or wrong, yet by the time they get there, it's no longer about that. But what have we missed? On either side of the argument, the male migrant workers is neglected. Barely an internet user, unfamiliar to the gender narrative, he was not part of the very debate that relates to his own suffering. His agency was deprived. To both sides of the debate, he was merely a catalyst used and quickly disposed. Everybody cares about the bigger picture of gender issue, but not the man. And remember that one man is only a representative of millions of migrant workers in China. In conclusion, allow me to borrow from Marx. In modern China, debates took place only within people of both internet proficiency and free time, while the great productive mass of population formed the purely passive pedestal for these combatants, and that is a problem must be solved. Okay, enough for the comments and analysis. Here are some news briefs from the past week. UNESCO urged to stay alert to US rejoining as Washington aims to exploit it as counter-China. In a move aimed at pushing back against China, the US told the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization that it is interested in joining the agency. Nearly 6 years after it had ended its membership, Chinese experts urged the organization to stay alert to the US move, as Washington aims to exploit UNESCO as a tool to contain China instead of making real contributions. Palestinian president visits China. Chinese foreign minister reaffirmed China's firm support to the Palestinian cause. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas paid a state visit to China from June 13th to 16th. On June 13th, Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang met with Palestinian Foreign Minister al-Maliki. Qin Gang said that China and Palestine are good friends and partners, and China will firmly support the Palestinian cause. Al-Maliki said that China is a trustworthy and reliable friend. The Palestinian side thanks China for its unwavering support for the Palestinian cause and for providing important support to the political and development fields. Blinken mentions China's intelligence gathering in Cuba. Again, Chinese Foreign Ministry urged him to stop spreading rumors and smearing. On the 12th, US Secretary of State Blinken responded to reports about China building spy facilities in Cuba, saying that China's actions in Cuba are part of its commitment to expanding its military presence globally. In response, China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson said at a regular press conference that this is just another old trick played by the US, which the outside world is no stranger to. We hope that the US will reflect on itself, stop spreading rumors and smearing, and stop engaging in indiscriminate hacking and spying on other countries as a hacker empire. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments on our show, please contact us at the email address below. I'm Thomas. Looking forward to hearing from you.